me just jump right in. Hello, everybody. Okay, so we just started this course here just before the Satsang about the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The course is called Transforming Habits, but it's really about the virtues and vices that we live with all the time and how we emphasize the virtue, because those are our divine qualities. They say, they call it Daivi Sampat in the chapter, the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Daivi Sampat is our divine wealth we all have. We need to cultivate, nourish it, put our emphasis in it, stake our happiness in that, not in all the other things of the world, all the changeable things of the world. And then the chapter also looks at our Asuri Sampat, our demonic wealth, our vices. So we were talking about that a bit, and of course mentioning that this is just a dramatization of our inner battle. So we talk about the gods and the demons in the scriptures, and there's always a fight between the gods and the demons, and God always wins, even though some battles it seems like the demons get the upper hand. And this is our struggle also in the spiritual life, where our selfishness starts to take the upper hand, our habits, our deep tendencies of the mind that's seeking some kind of ease, some kind of fast, expedient gratification, not really thinking of the consequences or the disappointment that always follows, the pain that always comes after. And the part of us that really is interested in deeper connection, in really caring and mutual support. This mutual circle of generosity that life is, and remembering the connection, the vital connection that we have with the whole. And so we were talking about that a little bit. Some of you were there, so we don't have to repeat too much. I was saying that I wanted to tell a story, and it's a story that some of you might know. It's quite a famous story about Lord Krishna when he was a boy. But I really like how it's told in this book called The Art of Positive Feeling. It's by Swami Satyapremananda, who's another disciple of Swami Sivananda, and he's still living. And I really like the way he tells the stories and then talks about their significance for our daily life. Because the theory is wonderful, but just staying with theory isn't going to save us. It isn't going to bring us closer to happiness and feeling love and loved and support and realization. But the theory, when we try to think, how can I practice it today? How can I practice it when I'm at work? How can I practice it when I'm at home? When I'm with people I feel good with, and when I'm with people that I don't feel so good with? All of it has everyday application. And I think Swami Satyapremananda is very nice about explaining it in a very short, simple way to apply, to think about how it looks in our life. So he says like this, the gods, or the demons rather, are like short-circuited gods. And there's nothing really wrong. There's nothing really wrong with them that a change of tuning or some contact with the divine won't fix. And so likewise for us. There's nothing so wrong with us. There's nothing so broken about us that just a little bit of divine contact won't transform like that. So we were saying in the class, and how he explains it here also, is that often in the stories, when one of the gods kills one of the demons, especially like Lord Krishna, when Lord Krishna kills a demon, when that demon dies, a great light comes out and then moves into that body of God. And in fact, often those demons are great devotees of the Lord who had some karmic debt to pay. And part of that karma, we should remember this in our daily lives when we feel like we're cursed, that karma is to come in close contact with God and be reabsorbed in. So he's telling the story, some of you know perhaps, of Kaliya. And so I'll just read it how he has it. He just made it short and sweet, but sweet, very sweet. It says, in ancient days, when Lord Krishna was living in Vrindavan, everything was wonderful in that forest except for one thing. The Yamuna River was poisoned by a snake that dwelled in the subterranean level of the river. In a big hole in the bed of the river lived Kaliya, spewing forth venom from his numerous hoods. The water was so poisoned that as birds flew by, they fell dead from the effect of the poison. So it became the task of Krishna to rid the Yamuna River of Kaliya. One day, as Krishna was playing with his friends, he deliberately let his ball fall into the river. Telling the others that he was going to recover the ball, Krishna climbed a great kadamba tree, which had a branch jutting toward the river, and jumped right in. To the dismay and shock of all who feared the dangerous snake, Krishna dove deep into the bed where Kaliya was sleeping. Kaliya woke up with an anger and began to hiss through all his hoods, so he had many heads and hoods, and emit venom. But Krishna was unaffected. Then Kaliya entwined Krishna, and the whole body of Kaliya rose above the water. When people saw Krishna entwined, they thought he was going to be destroyed, and they started weeping and crying. Krishna then smiled, and in order to give comfort to them, he swelled up his body, and Kaliya became uncomfortable and let go of him. As soon as Krishna became free, he started to jump and dance upon Kaliya's hoods. As he did so, Kaliya began to emit jewels from each hood, from each head. As Krishna continued dancing joyously from hood to hood, Kaliya became exhausted. At that time, the wives of Kaliya arose and prayed to Krishna, saying, "O Krishna, save our Lord, our husband. Do not destroy him." Kaliya, the demon himself, then developed an understanding and love for Krishna and said, "How blessed I am that your sacred feet have danced on my hoods. I should not be destroyed." When Krishna realized that Kaliya had submitted himself to him and had earnestly and sincerely repented, Krishna then asked Kaliya to move away from the Yamuna river and go to live in the ocean. Kaliya did so, taking his family away to abide in the vast ocean. Vrindavan again became the perfect abode for all, with sweet water flowing in the Yamuna, and Krishna playing on his flute. So then, Swami Satyapremananda explains the significance of the story. So he says, in this story, Kaliya, the demon, the serpent, represents ego. And the Yamuna river represents the chitta, or mind stuff, that is dominated by ego. In the subterranean part of the river, or in the subconscious of your mind, there dwells ignorance, with its special expression in the form of ego. While that ego dwells in the unconscious, it goes on poisoning one's thoughts. So whatever thoughts we've been feeding it, it then throws back at us. We don't think about our thoughts too much, but we think things like, he's stupid, she's lazy, I'm a failure. We feed it these statements that it then believes. And that becomes our mental conditioning. And then that becomes the world we live in. And then we do some practice, and we don't understand why this negativity keeps following us around. The poisoning of the thoughts, of the subconscious mind. So whatever you're telling the subconscious mind, it believes. And it brings back to make your reality. So be a little bit careful what we tell the subconscious mind. Tell it some statements of truth. If you're not sure, ask yourself, is it true? So if the vrittis, or the thought waves of the mind, were freed of asmita, the ego sense, they would become nectarine. That is the goal of yoga. But how does one drive the ego out? What should one do in order to purify the mind? Begin by allowing Krishna's ball, that is to say, allow the remembrance of God, good karmas, a bit of good divine grace, to enter into your unconscious, into your heart. So one way to do this is give your mind a new thought to dwell on. Give it some greater love, some greater object to fix your attention on. This is why we have mantra-based yoga, mantra-based meditation practice in our tradition, why we tend to favor the use of sacred sounds. The moment they do so, Krishna will follow after them, and the divine process of communication commences. The awakening of Kaliya represents the initial stage of sadhana, of spiritual practice, in which there develops an awareness of your own imperfection, and awareness of the impurities which lie within your personality. Of course, that awareness is not pleasant. When Kaliya is awakened, he tries to stifle Krishna. Similarly, when you begin your sadhana, your spiritual discipline, and become aware of your impurities, you become restless, feeling that those egoistic imperfections are going to choke your spiritual aspiration. And so what people usually do at this point is they give up. They either go on kind of remotely but only half-heartedly continue their practice. More likely, they start looking for a different practice. I need a different teacher. I need a different tradition. I need a different life. But our lives are not wrong. Our lives are perfectly chosen by us. Everything we've done until now has been to live the life we're living right now. So our life is the perfect opportunity we need to realize God, to realize the self. But we have to know how to look at it. We have to know how to live it. So people look around. They're feeling their own imperfections, but what do? They start to project it on everything. My boss is a monster. The other yogis aren't saints yet. It's too hard. It's too uncomfortable. I don't have enough power. We think our sadhana is going to give us power and advantage. If that's what we think, we're going to be disappointed. We're going to look for another practice, and we've missed the point and a golden opportunity that's given right to us on a silver platter. So Krishna is a symbol of your spiritual aspiration. He has awakened Kaliya. He has uncovered the impurities that are hidden within the mind, but he remains unaffected by the venom of the ego. And I was talking with one of you earlier. I was saying, as we go along, it starts to feel like you can be unpoisoned by the mind, though it's still doing what it's doing. It's still telling its stories, but you start to feel like it's your toddler. It's like your 2-year-old who goes around screaming, yes, no, me, mine. But your toddler, you put in a playpen and plays with toys. It goes on telling its stories. Nothing's completely changed, yet at the same time it's completely changed because you're not drowning in it. You can carry on. The mind can say what it wants to say when you don't believe it. It's not you. So you're able to go on and do what must be done, but you can do it with love and joy now, with some balance and peace of mind, with some presence of mind, with the mind not running ahead all the time, ruining the present. So let your mind be a little toddler in a playpen. Leave it be. It's okay. Let it play with its toys. But don't believe the stories. Don't fall for it. In your sadhana, as you continue to persist with satsanga, so have good company. Have company that has high aspiration and pure noble motives. That turned into mobile. Noble motives. You keep the right company, and this will help you keep your perspective. That purification will happen much more quickly. So, if you can, in your sadhana, as you continue to persist with satsanga and intensive self-effort, you realize that nothing can stifle your spiritual aspiration. No matter how many impurities you may have, no matter how many negative samskaras or habits or impressions you have from previous lives, nothing can stifle it. Once aspiration blossoms, it will continue to unfold more and more, and it has miraculous power. Even though that Kaliya is a mighty dragon, it still will not succeed in stifling Krishna. You need to put a little bit of faith in and trust the practice to work. The sadhana works. When sadhana moves into a state of concentration and meditation, the process of handling and overcoming the defects of your personality becomes easier. You develop the art of observing the negative vrittis or thought waves of the mind, and at the same time discover the spiritual strength to transform those negative vrittis into positive ones. Every negative thought, when it is curbed, yields spiritual energy. In other words, anger is transformed into love, pride into humility, and greed into generosity. This is the subtle implication of the jewels released from the hoods of Kaliya as Krishna danced upon them. That divine dance of Krishna is symbolic of your ever-increasing spiritual strength. Krishna sending Kaliya away from the Yamuna River to abide in the ocean symbolizes the transition from ordinary egoistic awareness to the awareness that I am all. As long as ego is in a conditioned mind, that ego produces egoism. But once your mind becomes unconditioned, once you develop ocean-like awareness, the ego in you becomes the universal I am. It is that transition from the ordinary awareness of I am the body to the awareness that I am that. I am the self. I am all. That is implied by Krishna sending Kaliya from Yamuna, the river, to abide in the ocean. The moment your ego moves away from the conditioned mind and establishes identity with the Absolute, your mind becomes absolutely purified and your heart becomes Vrindavan, where you can enjoy communion with God in the most delightful manner. There is nothing in the world as delightful, as wonderful as being immersed in that atmosphere of Vrindavan where Krishna plays his flute with eternal sweetness.